Hello, my name is Nora Alballa. We'll talk about our work, a first look at the impact of distillation hyperparameters and federated knowledge distillation. Nowadays, federated training and decentralized training methods are becoming more popular because we have a lot of data at the edge of the network. We want to reach to that data, and due to privacy concerns, we want to prevent that data from being communicated. The data might be partitioned in a statically heterogeneous way, and the edge devices might be systematically heterogeneous. One core technique that has recently been adopted in this setting is knowledge distillation. Although knowledge distillation is well known in model compression contexts as a way to transfer knowledge from a pre-trained teacher to an untrained student, knowledge distillation can actually be employed to transfer knowledge between already pre-trained models to combine their knowledge and increase the accuracy. We call this joint distillation. This has several benefits that has been documented in literature, including significant communication reduction compared to the classic federated learning setting, mitigating system and data heterogeneity, and model architecture flexibility, as participants can actually flexibly pick the model architecture that suits their capabilities. However, when we consider the knowledge distillation pipeline, we have to consider the various hyperparameters that come into play. We have the transfer set that's used to perform the knowledge distillation, which could be, for example, a public unlabeled dataset, a public labeled dataset, the teacher dataset, or the student dataset. There's also the position, and because both models are already pre-trained, we need to set the right position for each model, which one to be the student and which one to be the teacher, in order to maximize the learning outcomes. There's also the temperature, which controls the smoothness of the probability distribution of the predictions, where a higher value of temperature produces a softer probability distribution, while lower temperatures create a sharper probability distribution over classes. This can control how much we want to learn from the teacher, since the student learns from the soft target outputs of the teacher model. And finally, there is the weight that's given to the distillation laws versus the cross-entropy laws, which also can control how much we want to learn from the teacher. There are some default values that are commonly used by the previous works that employs knowledge distillation and the federated learning setting, such as temperature of 1 and equal weights for the distillation laws and the cross-entropy laws. However, these works didn't explore the impact and the consequences of tuning these hyperparameters. Let me show you that there is not a single setting that works for all. The figures show examples of how different pairs might require different settings for the hyperparameters, the temperature on the left and the weight on the right. For each pair, the box is colored according to the temperature that achieved the maximum accuracy gain on the left, and on the right, the stars are colored according to the weight that achieved the maximum accuracy gain. We can also see the possible wide range of accuracy gain resulting from using different settings. So, on the downside, adopting knowledge distillation in this setting is relatively new and is not yet well studied and understood. The default commonly used values for the hyperparameters are not effective. Also, knowledge distillation is actually computationally intensive, and you might not always have an accuracy gain. So, it makes sense to explore the sensitivity of those hyperparameters, how we might possibly tune them, and how much room for improvement we can actually obtain. In this initial study, we focus on how much accuracy gain we can get by appropriately tuning these hyperparameters. We consider a simple setting with 10 participants. Each participant has its own ResNet 18 model that's trained on a partition of cipher 10. We consider heterogeneous data partitions. We consider all the possible pairwise interactions between participants with one round of joint distillation. We do a full sweep over all of these hyperparameters. We show that it is possible by optimizing the hyperparameters and choosing values that are not necessarily the default ones, which produces the red bar, we can get up to 5 times improvement.